Um, the whole concept starts out with the decision to quit drinking alcohol. It's a binary choice, right? You've either got you stop drinking alcohol or you don't stop it. You put the alcohol into your mouth or you don't put it in. And it can't be any simpler than that. When you're making a decision to do something else, let's say you're trying to lose weight, there are so many decisions to make. What exercise you're going to do. Are you going to go to the gym? Are you going to do it in the street? What clothes are you going to buy? What food are you going to eat? What you're not going to eat? How many calories should you burn? How many calories should you eat? All of these things require different levels, and it's going to take. It takes different actions for different people, so different contexts. Where, in this case, the same with quitting cigarettes, it's one choice. You don't put the alcohol into your mouth, and that's it. That's all you have to do. So everything else is about changing the habit. So, the actual stopping drinking part of this, how you stop drinking alcohol, the part where you actually stop drinking alcohol, I can't teach you that. If you don't know how to do that already, how am I going to teach you that? I can teach a 4-year-old how to do that. I can show a 4-year-old, and they understand straight away what to do. So there are people who, when they do stop drinking alcohol, or when they try to stop drinking alcohol, they've been drinking that much alcohol that they need to have medical attention before they stop. They have to go and see somebody. They have to go and get into a bed somewhere where they're getting more medication in order to help them stop having seizures or DTs or any of that stuff, right? But that's a very, very small minority of people. And when you look at the broad picture of this isn't happening because you've automatically stopped drinking alcohol, because you suddenly stopped drinking alcohol. This is happening because of all the alcohol that you've been pouring into your body since before you stopped. I mean, the sudden stop then is the catalyst. It's the thing that starts off the process. But let's get real here. It's not anything to do with the fact that you stopped this. If you hadn't have been drinking so much in the past, then it wouldn't have happened like this. So, but as I said, there's a very small minority of people who this happens to. The human body is really resilient. The human liver is one of the few organs that will regenerate itself, and takes so much abuse. It's the same thing as the brain. Just takes so much abuse. It will take so much abuse before it starts to give any problems. And this is the reason why people can drink for so long without them showing any physical signs. But and this is, I suppose, after you've stopped drinking alcohol, you suddenly start to realize that it wasn't just about the physical problems. When you look back on your life and you've wasted 30 years of drinking, you can start to look back and say, well, time is the thing that you just haven't got anymore. So this goes, when you stop drinking alcohol, alcohol is something which should be left in your past. It should be something that is it has nothing to do with it anymore. When you drink alcohol, you're using alcohol as a tool in order to change your emotions in a certain way, to get you from feeling one way into feeling another way. From unrelaxed into relaxed, from being anxious to not being anxious, from being sad to being happy. Sometimes it works, and other times it doesn't. But there's always a long-term cost to pay for that. And the more you do it, the more habitual that becomes, and the less you're able to rely on normalcy. I always give the example that when I started drinking first, when I started drinking seriously first, it was because I was trying to overcome shyness. The first few times that I drank was always about peer pressure. I think that's for most cases. You're a young person, a very young person in some cases, and you're trying to be a person that you're not. A young kid is trying to be a man. A young a young girl is trying to be a woman. They're trying to grow up before their time, and that's one of the avenues that you take. For us in the West, alcohol is the gateway into adulthood, but it's only it's a very ephemeral gateway. It's in Ireland we were able to drink when we were 18 years of age, but the brain isn't fully functioning, isn't an adult brain, isn't capable of acting like an adult until you're 23, 24 years of age. Those parts of your frontal cortex are not fully developed until you're that age. So everything, your planning and decision making, all that kind of stuff is all not fully developed as a consequence of that. But when you start out, so I started out with the shyness. But the problem is that when you use alcohol and you use an external solution, and I say solution, with tongue in cheek, in order to solve an internal problem like shyness or anxiety or anything like that, then you become dependent on that because you're not developing the skills that you need in order to overcome that. Because it's so easy to do that. It's so easy to walk into a bar and hand over five whatever it is, $5, get a few pints, and I'm talking about when I was a kid, not now. Get a few pints in you, and automatically you solve the problem of being shy, but you're not solving it long term. So it becomes a habit, and the only way to then deal with your life and to get away from alcohol is to get away from the alcohol thinking, is to break down the habit. And that's got nothing to do with the alcohol. The alcohol is now in the past. You're not dealing with the alcohol anymore. And that's the mistake I think most people make, is that they focus on the alcohol. They focus on, the alcoholic being sober, all this bullshit, where it's nothing to do with the alcohol. So, the further down, we said this in last week's live stream, that you can dig yourself into a hole, and the further down that hole you go, the further it is to get back out again. The more you have to climb, and that's probably one of the reasons why there is this. The more you drink, then that's the analogy. The more you drink, the more contexts that you drink, the more situations that you drink, the more problems you try to solve with alcohol, the deeper you're digging that hole. And I'm not talking about deep as in, going straight down. You don't do that. People say, well, you hit rock bottom, but it's not like that. It's like you're going down into one of these Vietnamese tunnel systems. That's what you're digging. You're digging down and sideways and across, and then down again and maybe up again, and eventually you just get lost. You're digging that far, you don't know what way is out again. And that's one of the biggest problems of people who are trying to stop, because they don't know how to deal with real life anymore. They don't know how to deal with life without alcohol. So that's when the complexity comes in, because they have created a problem which is so complex. And it's of their own making. It's of their own digging, and people don't get that. So, I hate the comparisons. I hate the talk about alcoholic. I think it's just these are comparisons which are completely harmful to you as an individual. If you're trying to build yourself and build a life that is valuable to you, then calling yourself an alcoholic is detrimental to that, because it's holding you back. It's putting a straitjacket around you. Calling yourself sober is the same thing, because you're linking yourself to something which is in your past. It's like, if you change your life, if you're losing weight, go back to the weight analogy, and you're trying to change your life in that perspective. If you're obese and you're afraid of all the consequences of being obese, you have to make certain choices and certain decisions that are going to bring you back to a normal weight for your size, or a normal weight that is, it's going to take you out of that danger zone. It's going to bring you back into expecting a normal lifespan, expecting a normal quality of life. Hopefully when you get to that stage, you're working yourself so that you're increasing your lifespan, you're increasing the quality of your life. But you would never do this if you got to that stage and still refer to yourself back as an obese person. And that's a similar thing to what people are doing when they call themselves an alcoholic, or they continue to call themselves sober or in recovery, right? I think when you're doing this to yourself, what you're doing is you're keeping yourself in that victim mentality, and you shouldn't be doing that. Self-help, self-discipline, when you're trying to make big self-change in your life, you've got to turn that around. Instead of being the victim, you've got to start thinking about becoming the victor. You've got to go on a power grab